This video is about to become your color grading Bible, because not only am I going to give you my 3-step process to make any clip look cinematic, I'm also going to do it in front of you while I speak and while I explain everything that goes through my mind. If you don't know me, I'm Giuseppe, and I started out as a broke videographer many years ago who didn't even know how to use Premiere Pro to do some basic color correction. Eventually, I fell in love with color grading and decided I wanted to be a remote colorist, which is what I am today. This video is suitable for both beginners and experienced people because of the way it's built. First, we'll watch the 3-step formula together and see how it can be applied to your footage. Then you'll see me grade on Davinci Resolve, and we'll take a look at my real projects so that you can copy and paste the exact techniques that made me win clients. Just know that the top link in the description takes you to my online Color Kings Academy. Let's go. This is the formula that will follow through the video, and I've made this as simple as possible so that everybody can understand. Step 1 will be defining what cinematic even means, because if we don't know what cinematic means, we do not know what we're aiming for. Step 2 will be about finding out your clip's strengths, and by this, I mean that we can find out what we can play with when we work on your footage. Step 3 will be about enhancing them. So this means just basic color grading. So we need to find out what we can do to your clip, and then we're going to do it basically. So what does cinematic mean in our context? Achieving a look that serves your video's purpose. I say it this way, I talk about your video having a purpose because a lot of people make this mistake when they think that color grading is all about making the footage look good. But good is subjective, so you can't be aiming towards good because what looks good to you may look bad to me. If I like red and you like yellow, we do not agree on what the best color is. So you can't be chasing good. You need to chase your video's purpose. I color graded a reel for a beauty brand very recently. And what they needed was skin tones that looked the best, white, clean colors, and a polished professional look, because that's what they wanted to convey with their video. Now, if instead I went for a teal and orange palette, I would have disappointed the client, because the purpose of the video is not to show the best colors, it's not to show, huge contrast, it's not that. The purpose of the video is to have a clean, polished look. Let's say that in your case, you shot a documentary which is very serious about a serious topic. Now, in your case, it wouldn't make much sense to have a colorful image, a playful image. Because do you see the mismatch? There's a mismatch between what the video needs to make me feel and what your color grading is making me feel. We don't want that. So first thing, you need to find your video's purpose. And I have countless guides inside my Color Kings Academy where I teach you just that. And the easiest way to understand what your video's purpose is to just think about the way somebody should feel when they watch it. So think about it like, by the end of the video, what should the viewer think of the thing they watched? What should the viewer think? What should the viewer feel? That's how you find the video's purpose. When you can understand the feeling that you need to evoke, then you can be like, okay, so my viewer needs to be sad. How do I make my color grading, be sad? How do I make people feel sad? And that's when you gotta do color rationalization. This is the process of transforming the feelings that we want to convey into actionable steps, into colors. I introduced to you the grading compass. These are a couple of simple instructions that will always help you understand the right way to go about color grading when you're working on a clip. This is from another video that I made some time ago, and this is following the process of rationalizing colors with words. I'm telling you, everybody that is successful at color grading understands the grading compass, and this is what I use every time I need to do some color grading on a video. Now, do I always look at this? No, because when you learn what everything means and how to shape it for your story, you don't need to look at it anymore. So the way I color grade and the way you'll see me color grade, it's different. I go about it very quickly and I can make decisions. For you, I want you to screenshot what you're seeing right now. I'm giving this to you for free and use it when you're grading. By now, you understand that a clip can look good in different ways, and that what we should be after when we talk about cinematic looks is what works for your video. So now we need to find out really what your clip's strengths are. And to do that, I want to share with you some content that I put inside my online Color Kings Academy. Top link in the description takes you to exactly this place where you can watch everything I've put in here and you can talk to me and I review your grades and all the good stuff. What I want to show you is this lesson that I have in here about the 2 types of clips that you will encounter. It's a very interesting lesson that you need to hear to get through step 2 of this process. I'm going to shake your world. Do you remember these 2 frames? Now I'm going to ask you, what do you think they looked like when I worked on them? Like the Rec 709. Rec 709 just means like the normalized image. What do you think was like? Let's go over them real quick. I want to do this like in a whoa way. So I'll just go over from this way. So this is what the Rec 709 of this image looks like. So you can see Rec 709 again, as I've just explained. Rec 709 means what the camera saw, let's say. Okay, so how it was really. So this is the grade that I applied to it. This is the grade that I did. And this, which right now is covered, was what the image really looked like in real life. Not necessarily in real life, but what the camera saw. Let's put it that way. Now, as you can see, it looks proper. So the colorist's job in this case is to enhance what was already shot. Like sometimes I've talked about on my channel how your color grading is basically disrespecting your footage. Let me type this out. Color grading is good to great, and you're gonna learn exactly how to do it to how it was shot, because it looks like it's just a better version of itself, right? What happens when in the same video you have this? Fuck, right? Holy fuck. How can this, pretend that you haven't seen this, but how can this be coherent with this? Clips that you need to fight to get them to where you want it to go, in clips that you can push you can just push them further, you can play with their strengths, and they will look amazing. What we're after in this lesson is identifying what your strengths are. In this case, you see how this is very blue? Okay, make it even more blue, let's say. So make it more dramatic in that sense. Instead of, having to change the way this one looked, as you can see. This one looked normal because it was shot differently, but it needed to go in the same video. So I needed to do a whole nother job just to do shot matching, white balance and contrast, and this way more complex than just pushing this to this, which is already similar, right? You get the point. I'll give you another example of when this can be applied. So these are the beauty reels that I color graded very recently that I was talking to you about before. Now, as you can see, this is what they looked like in camera. Okay, this is what the camera saw. And as you can see, you can kind of see that they have this clean atmosphere, but it's too warm right now. So we need to fix a few things. Okay, we could really clean up this whole thing. You can kind of imagine that this could look clean, polished, professional, with a better white balance and some cleaning techniques basically on the footage. And in fact, that's exactly what I ended up doing. This is what the client wanted. This is what the client is happy with. And this is playing to the clip's strength. It would have been very, I wouldn't say impossible, but you can kind of see how it would have been harder if we wanted to push for instead a more dramatic approach. Something that might have looked kind of like this, where we have this and this looks this way and we need to push for this. So we're trying to force the clip to become something that the clip is not meant to be. Do you understand that? So the challenge before we start grading is understanding first what the purpose of the video is. And I was lucky enough that the purpose of the video matched the clip's strengths. And then you need to understand what the clip's strengths are so that you can enhance them. Usually the second step is done, like you literally watch the clip, you understand where the clip can go and where the clip can't go. If you have trouble with that, just stay tuned with the video because I'm about to start color grading in front of you and I'll speak my mind as I go through the different things about color grading so that you can pick my brain and understand how I think about the whole process. I'll also explain every technique that I use so that if you've never watched some color grading, some good color grading tutorials, and if you're new on the channel, you can understand step by step what I'm doing, what my process is like, and you can copy the same things that I'm doing for your grades. Let's go. The first thing that I want you to notice is that I have already converted my clips. Now, what does this mean if you're a total beginner and if you don't even know what this means? Basically, when you shoot something, you usually shoot it log if you're planning to do some color grading. Log is basically this profile that your camera can shoot in, and it's got basically no contrast, no colors, the exposure is all weird. You can see that this is not normal. So what we do, as soon as we import the clips in Davinci, when we want to start color grading, we do what's called normalization. So we bring back the footage and we make it look normal again. And the way we do it, it's not by eye. Some people may have taught you that you can proceed like this and you do something like this. I don't suggest beginners do this. We don't do it like this. We have Davinci perform a little mathematical equation to the footage and convert it back. We say, Davinci, we shot this on this camera. Can you make it normal again? In Davinci, since Davinci knows a lot of cameras, Davinci is gonna make it normal for you. If you don't know what I'm doing in this step, don't worry, I have dedicated guides in the Color Kings Academy at the top link in the description that you can check out right now if you wanna learn more about this single step. Let's go ahead. So I convert my clip and now it looks normal. Now, as you can see, I told you, we gotta play with the clip strength. The first thing we see is that it's warm, white walls, so not a lot of saturation necessarily. We're not gonna have a lot of saturated elements. So the first thing I'm gonna do is reach for my exposure knob, and I'm gonna have to make a decision. So I know that nothing is clipping. This is a very nice camera. So it's gonna be very easy to push and pull this image. Now I've gotta decide, do we wanna keep the image low contrast or high contrast? If we make the image high contrast, we're going to have a lot of shadows on her face because you already see that we have some shadows right here. So she's going to become very dark. But there might be a very nice contrast here. I actually want to make this high contrast. Let's go. All right, so I'm going to pull our exposure down just a bit. And I do that just to prepare the image for what's to come. So I anticipate that the image will be a little darker than what we have right here. So I am adjusting exposure by looking at this one. So I'm looking at this bright spot right here, and I'm lowering exposure. It's this spot right here on my scope. Don't worry about it. If it's too technical for you, just follow the strategy that I'm using, which is the path of least resistance, right? So I'm doing the things that the clip can sustain. That's it. I'm looking at this while I lower my exposure, and I'm also looking at how dark she gets. Right now, I'm going to accentuate the fact that she's getting darker by pushing my shadows down. Again, I'm doing this because it seems like it's the path of least resistance for my clip. Now, if I do it now in front of you and it doesn't look good, I'll just go back and I'll just change my mind and I'll say, okay, if it's easier to go low contrast, we'll have a completely different look. But let's see what happens. I don't know. I'm testing things out with you. So I'm going to use my color wheels right here on my lift gamma gain. Very easy to use. A lot of people teach them. I also teach them to my students. Use these. Very easy. Craft your contrast with these ones. I don't really use contrast and pivot that much. I don't like it. I like to craft it by hand. And I also have some techniques for the custom curves. Let's go. Okay, interesting. Interesting. Okay, I like the way everything is getting dark. Again, this is a nice camera, so we can push it this far. If the footage started breaking around here, I would have just, stayed a little above this, okay? Like, don't go past your camera's limits, all right? Don't risk your footage looking bad and choppy. I really like this. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is, so I have adjusted exposure and I have just lowered my shadows. I'm happy with this. Now I wanna see what happens if I push this further. So if I make this brighter, and I'm gonna do that by touching my gain, my highlights slider, and my gamma. Let's see what happens. I wanna see what my control surfaces do for this clip. This is what I'm after. Okay, I don't like how it gets too bright right here. It's a little too jarring for my taste, so I'm gonna go back down again. How about my gamma? Okay, a very cool thing happened. So before, when I was affecting my shadows with my lift, we were dragging most of her hair down, her shoulder as well, but the face remains lit anyways. What I'm noticing right now is that if I drag everything down with my gamma, do you see how by dragging the midtones, we're also making the wall right here darker, and her face is also getting darker. What I think I'll do is this. I'll drag the midtones down so that we can make this part of her face even darker. And then do you see how there's kind of a bright spot right here? I'm going to push my gain up so that we kind of recover that, because it's going to be affecting one of the highlights. And we'll get some very nice high contrast on her face. This is possible because of the way she's lit. If she was completely like in the shade, so the light that we see here on her face is probably coming from the wall itself. If she wasn't lit this way, this wouldn't be working like it is. Okay, it would be a different look. That's why I'm saying you need to play with your clip strength. So let's see what happens. If I push this down and then we bring everything back up, beautiful, beautiful. Now we have a choice to make. We can either leave this crushed like it is, so completely black, or we can make this more of a milky black. We can transform it with a technique that I teach in my Color Kings Academy, which is shadow shaping. Shadow shaping is basically when you stop using these control surfaces to affect your shadows. In my case, I was using lift and gamma. And you start crafting custom looks with your curves. Okay, this is what I teach in the Color Kings Academy. And in this case, it will look something like this, where we just start lifting this. Now, I don't like one bit what we're doing to the image. This is way too soft, so I'm not gonna go ahead this way. I'm probably gonna try something else. So I'll try with... Yeah, I don't really like this. So I don't like what's happening right here. I'm going to go and try something with my shadow control. No, I actually prefer the image being crushed right now. A lot of people might try to recover the detail. You might have heard somebody say that you shouldn't clip your blacks, that you shouldn't go above or beyond what you see in the scopes. I disagree with that advice, because color grading is art. In this case, the fact that we have such a huge deal of contrast is playing to our advantage, because this looks much more dramatic than what we had before, which was this. This was our starting point. So what I'm going to do now is what have we done, by the way? We've handled light, the brightness part of our image. What have we done, by the way? We've handled the bright part of our image, so the light section, let's call it that. Now we've got to handle the way our colors look. So I want to decide a bit for that. I won't use too many advanced techniques because this is more of a concept video. So for the guys that already follow this channel, you know that I might be using more than what I'm showing in this video. I'm recording now just to show you what's possible when you play to your clip strengths. So right now I'm going to make a global saturation node. I call it SAT. This just means it's a reminder for myself to know what I'm doing in this node. And I'm looking to just play with the overall saturation of this image. So I'm just looking to do this and decide when it looks best. Now, I would argue, so I really like the golden tone that we have right here. I'm trying to decide though. I think we have a little too much, because when we have it around here, do you see how her face starts to become a little too saturated? Do you see that? So I actually like it when we bring our saturation down, not a lot, okay? See the way I'm doing everything. I proceed by small amounts, especially now that we're handling colors, since we're very close to the result that I want. Before, I needed big strokes to get the image in the ballpark that I wanted to operate in. But now that I'm kind of close, I'm acting more like a brain surgeon, right? So I'm right there trying to understand how the patient responds. Do I like this more? Do I like this less? That's my approach right now. So when you don't know what to do to your image, when you don't know what's going to look better, if this works, if this doesn't, which was me 3 minutes ago. Yeah, big strokes, find out what works. Okay, play with your image. Now I've played with the saturation before, so I was like, I've kind of seen what I like and what I dislike on this image, and I'm like, you know what? I actually would like to park it right here. Okay, so we have this saturation node right here, and now we have the choice to introduce some more colors. We can either keep the image like this or change something about the image. I would like to introduce some more colors. So I'm going to create a parallel node under my contrast. And if you're very new to Davinci and you're confused about parallel nodes, they're actually pretty easy. If you want a clear explanation, go check out the top link in the description. The easiest way to understand them is they let you do two things at the same time. Instead of having one after the other, like serial nodes, like what we were doing right now, with a parallel node, the signal gets split, and you can do two things at the same time. This is important when you want to create complex looks. I have more in-depth guide about this in my Color Kings Academy. Again, go check that out if you're interested. So I'm thinking I have created this node, and I want it to get its signal from the CST right here. I do this because I do not want this node to depend on what we do in the exposure one. Again, I talk about this in the Color Kings Academy. These are concepts that I really talk a lot about. And I'm going to call this HSL. I'm going to call this HSL because in this node, I'm going to use my hue versus hue, hue versus set, and hue versus luminance adjustments. So hue, saturation, luminance. Basically, that's why I call it HSL, to remind myself of what I'm doing right here. And I'm going to do this, I'm going to use these three instruments because they allow me to target individual colors in our image and to change them. Now, what I would do if I really wanted to change the way this image looks is I would white balance it. I would make it neutral and then change it. Since I do not want to do that, I do not want to make this complex for you, I'm going to keep the image as is and we're just going to work with what we have. Right now I see that we have this golden stuff right here and I want to try playing with it. So I target my yellow and I want to change how this looks. I really like what we've got over here. I really like this. So this might come down to personal preference. Reddish also looks very good. I'm just trying to do something creative. I like the way her skin is looking. Let me think. I might try giving the image a tint actually. Let's see what happens if we play with our knobs right here. What if we give the whole image a blue tint through our offset and then we compensate for that with our gamma? I'm kind of going nowhere right now. Yeah, this is losing some color. So we're heading more towards the green territory, especially if I do something like this. I'd like the shadows to become a little colder. Colder than what they were. They're not cold by any means now, but they're more neutral. Since they were a little on the warm side, by me giving them a very slight blue tint, now they're neutral and I like them a lot. Yeah, I'm kind of happy with what we got. I'd say that this is a good enough look. So let's see what happens if we apply it right here. Okay, this is a little too dark for this shot. Usually, like in the best case scenario, you would be grading this one and then this one. You usually start with the wide shot and then you go with the close-up. Who cares? I'm gonna go right here. I'm trying to match them. So this has a little less red in it. Yeah. And this is a little too dark. But right now I'm not talking about exposure, I'm talking about contrast. Could go. We could also pump the image with more warmth if that's what you like. Again, I'm giving the image a color cast through my gain, gamma, lift controls and also offset. You can do that. You can give it this way, or you can go back to your HSL and you can pump the image with more color this way. As you can see, everything we're doing is utilizing what the clip is already giving us. So we have this clip right here. And I want to think. So we have a lot of colors. We have low exposure. What can we do? Well, let's begin by bringing up our exposure right here. So again, same process. I'm just gonna make the image brighter. Okay. Then I'm gonna make a contrast node, and now I want to work my contrast. What if we actually diminish our contrast for this one? So I can already see we've got some noise. Yeah, let's continue on this shot. I've just said, it's better to begin wide and then go close. Yeah, contrast, like our shadows are a little too high right here, but I like the fact that it's looking softer. I can use my log wheels right here to bring my black point down because they are more targeted than the color wheels right here. Color wheels are usually more broad than the log wheels. That's why I'm using them this way. So if I want the most out of my sky, I'm gonna have to bring everything down, kind of like how the clip was shot. Because usually when you approach 768, 896 on the waveform, that's when a lot of the detail gets compressed. That's why we have less definition right here. So what I'm seeing is that if we bring the clips up, we get a lot of noise, and you can already see some of that noise creeping in over here. And all I've done right now, I have disabled my contrast node. I've just brought up the exposure. So what we could do, what I'm thinking, is we could maybe make this a silhouette. Basically, we make him very dark, and we have him stand next to a bright background, which is the sky right now. So we might just go that way. So what I'm gonna do now, I have brought up the whole exposure because this is looking way too dark, but the image will end up looking similar to this one without the exposure, meaning that the girls in the shot will become dark again, but we'll achieve it with our contrast node, which is right here. Now, as you can see, as they get dark, they also get very saturated. You see here? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna share a little secret technique with you. I'm gonna use just the Y part of my lift, not the whole slider, not this one, not this thing, just the Y part of my lift. I'm gonna bring it down while I bring my lift, my slider up, bring down, up, down like this. And this allows the saturation to become more contained. I'm not disliking this. The only thing I've got a problem with is how much red we have in this shot and how crushed this looks. So what I want to do now is I want to lift this a little bit while lowering it at the same time. Again, this is called shadow shaping. Okay, after this one, I might want to address the saturation globally as I did for the first one. So I like when the sky is really saturated. The only thing I dislike is when we get a lot of saturation in the shadows as well. So I don't like how colorful this is right here. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna have this saturation node and we're gonna push some saturation right here. At the same time though, we're going to have a desat node where I do just the opposite. So we clean up our image. And the way we're going to clean up our image is with these three tools right here, which allow us to target saturation in very interesting ways. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the Luma versus Sat tool that allows me to make the darkest parts also less saturated. Kind of like this. I'm looking to make this a little softer as well. This is okay. And the thing I want to do now is ask myself, am I happy with the colors that we have in this image? Well, I might want to try something. Let's see what we can do. So I'm going to grab my HSL again. I'm going to create this parallel node. I'm going to do the same thing that I did in the clip before. I'm going to see if we can achieve a different look color-wise. So let's see what happens if we bring our magenta closer to blue. Yeah, I kind of like this. Just a little push. Maybe a little less crushed with the contrast. I might want to go just a little back. There. Now we apply this to this shot and we match it. I just need to match the exposure. And I'm fine with them being a little brighter in this one. Since it's a close-up, I don't hate the idea of having the subjects be a little brighter. We should really desaturate this red, by the way, because it's not. Yeah, it's a little too jarring. At the same time, yeah, this is a pretty difficult clip, by the way. They're not lit properly at all. Lower exposure, and we're okay. Let's match the blue. Beautiful. We have a little too much blue right here. This is not our fault. This is because of the way the clips were recorded. Because again, this is at sunset. We're lacking some red here, but I can live with that. For the sake of the explanation and keeping things simple, I can live with the way this looks. Let's now take a look at clip number 3. So clip number 3 in the original video was very dramatic. So in the video that I had for my client, in the grade that I had for my client, it was very dramatic and very gritty. I'm gonna recreate something similar. So as you can see, we have a lot of potential right here because we have bright parts and dark parts. So we might have a lot of we might have a lot to play with. So what I'm gonna do right now is create an exposure node, and I'm gonna play with my image. I'm gonna give the image a high key. I'm going to give the image a higher exposure than what it had. I'm going to create a contrast node. So I'm gonna go ahead and lower the image's contrast. So do you see how this gets very dark while these details stay bright? This is because of the way this is lit. So again, I'm playing to my image's strengths. What if I bring my highlights down while my gamma goes up? We have the lift go down as well, and we do some shadow shaping. Yeah, just a little. This is not bad. So I'm thinking we have a lot of red, a lot of yellow, and we have some blue behind him. I'm thinking we could maybe desaturate this blue that's behind him and give the image a green color cast in the shadows to reach a gritty and dramatic and dirty look, basically. So I'm going to create my HSL node, connect it to my CST. And right here, I'm going to desaturate our blue. I'm going to leave just a little bit. At the same time, we are going to be introducing a tint, and we're going to do that through our lift. So this is going to go in the shadows, and I'm introducing a green tint in my shadows. While I do this, I want to compensate for my green tint, not by giving another tint like this. I don't want to do this because this won't look good. I want to keep going like this. Then I'm going to come back to my HSL node, and I want to pump more yellow in the image this way. Now we're going too strong with our tint, which is why this doesn't look good. And we need to shift our yellow towards right here. Tint needs to come back a little. And we need even less blue than what we have right here. We're getting too much blue now. So what I think I'll do very easily is just play with how much saturation we have over here. Give the image a slight tint towards green, very subtle. I don't want to overdo things. Give the image some more love with the HSL node. I'm going to pump the image with some more yellow to counteract the effect that the tint is having on the footage. Skew this a little more towards red. So I'm now changing the yellow in our image to become more reddish, because we need to counteract the tint that I'm introducing. And I think I'm happy with my colors. This is where I wanted the image to end up. I'm now just going to check with a global saturation knob if I like what we have. I think we do. I think I like what we have. So I'm going to keep the image as is. I'm going to call this sat either way, even though we didn't actually do anything in this node, and call it a day. That said, I hope I gave you some straight value in this video. God bless you.